It starts with how I look. Brown skin, unmistakably black nose, nappy hair that I once wrestled into submission and have now, for many years, liberated to curly chaos. My older brothers and I were born and raised on Amsterdam Avenue between 163rd and 164th Streets, a neighborhood that sent very few kids to college, but many to jail. Years after we had grown up and left, our block, with its boarded-up windows, abandoned storefronts, and glassy-eyed men just hanging out, enjoyed the grim distinction of having the highest crime rate in New York City. But we always knew we were different, set apart, not like the other kids. Most of the kids we knew came from sprawling families with a tapestry of cousins and aunts and uncles. The really lucky ones had a grandfather or a grandmother, maybe even two. These families would feast on food like ham hocks or collard greens or pig's feet that never graced our table. We had rice at every meal, a starch I have loathed for most of my life and can now stand in only small amounts, and exotic vegetables no one else ate, like bok choy. During the 1950s and early 1960s, when we were growing up, most other families were intact, with a father and a mother in the apartment. Only 4 of us lived in our ground-floor apartment on Amsterdam Avenue. My older brothers, Elric and Howard, my mother, and I. My father, Elric Sr., lived in Springfield Gardens, Queens, and was alternately engaged with our family and alienated. We were a tiny band of Williamses. I remember always feeling as if there were simply not enough of us. Most other kids had families who would escape the city summers by getting on a bus and going to Georgia or North Carolina for big reunions with more cousins, more aunts and uncles. Perhaps the crown jewel, a grandfather, would command the head of the table. "When are we going down south?" I would ask my mother as we sat on the summertime stoop of our apartment building. I was 5 years old and bored out of my mind because the entire playmate population of Harlem seemed to have gone to this wonderful place called down south. "We are not from down south," she would reply. "Ma, everybody's from down south," I would insist. "We're not," she would say. "Well, where are we from?" I would ask, already sick of the conversation. "We are from Jamaica," she would say. "We are from an island." "Well, when are we going there?" "We aren't going there." And that was where it stopped. Was there only a one-way ticket away from Jamaica? No return? Or did she mean to imply that there were no means of transportation available? I tried another approach. "How did you get here, Mommy?" "I came here on a plane." "Well, why can't we?" "Because we don't have the money," she would say, case closed. But while money was important, clearly you couldn't do much without money, she did not bother to point out that even in Jamaica there was not much family with whom to reunite. I grew up believing that both my grandfathers were dead, and that my grandmothers, though I knew they existed, were not well regarded by my mother. To ask my mother about her people was to hit a brick wall. The conversation, like the one about down south, went nowhere. But this one was pervaded by a sense of loss that I could feel but could not fathom, and would certainly never be able to discuss, let alone probe. Her mother was in Jamaica, we knew that, but where was her father? "He went back to China and died," she would say. I have spent my life, my hard-working life, with a persistent and painful sense of loss. My yearning for clarity, my longing to feel somehow complete was never satisfied by my prickly, demanding, beautiful, fair-skinned, half-Chinese mother. How could it be, when she walked through her life, and the lives of her husband and children, as a woman of chronic impatience, enveloping depression and ambient loss? Once when I was a reporter for the Syracuse Herald-Journal in upstate New York, my daughter Imani and I